Good morning, my friends, and welcome back. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be morning. You could be listening to this any time of day. But the point is that you start your day whenever you start it by getting your mind aligned with the truth of God. That's why I call this the morning mindset. It's to help us live today as we should in its entirety. Yesterday's installment of the morning mindset introduced this idea of delighting yourself in the Lord. And in return, He will give you the desires of your heart. Now, I explained in yesterday's installment how I've come to understand that verse that's recorded for us in Psalm 37, verse number 4. So if you haven't heard my explanation of what I believe that verse means, you should just hit the back button, go back to yesterday's episode, and listen to that installment of the morning mindset first. Because today, I want to take that concept and that understanding and apply it in some very practical ways. Now let's read the verse again. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. And in summary, that means that delighting yourself in the Lord is taking delight in who He is. It's delighting in things like His majesty, His holiness, His righteousness, His graciousness, His faithfulness, and all those things that God is. We actually learn to delight in those things. And something I didn't mention yesterday is notice this is a command. Delight yourself in the Lord. So we are to guide our own hearts into this kind of delight about the Lord Himself. And as a result, something that comes from that is that He will give us the desires of our hearts. And that does not mean He will give us whatever our heart desires, but rather He will give us the actual desires that flow out of our hearts. He will generate the right kind of desires. And there's a domino effect I described in yesterday's episode that makes sense to me as to why that's the case. But let's think practically about this. There are times in life where we have decisions to make, where we have desires that we want to pursue, but we ask ourselves the question, and rightly so, is this desire from the Lord? Is this something I should be pursuing, or am I just being selfish? And for me, on a very practical level, what helps me in those circumstances is to go back and ask myself this important question. Am I delighting myself in the Lord as a pattern of the way that I live? So in other words, in general terms, is the direction of my life one in which I am delighting in who God is? Is that a quality, a characteristic of my life? Generally speaking. If the answer is no, if I honestly say no, I've been slacking off in my delight for the Lord, or I see something else that has taken His place and I'm delighting in that more than I'm delighting in the Lord, then I'm going to be very skeptical about the desires I have in the decision that's before me. But if I can honestly say, yes, I've really been delighting myself in the Lord. I've been enjoying Him more and more throughout my days. I've been delighting in His ways. I've been learning about His ways and applying them to my life. And I'm seeing how it's changing the way I think and the way that I feel and the way that I interact with people. If that's true, then I can say these desires that I have regarding this decision are likely from the Lord. Because that's what the verse says. It says, when I delight myself in the Lord, He gives me the desires of my heart. So you see, sometimes the introspection that we get into, trying to figure out whether our motives are pure, is the wrong way to go about it. Instead, we need to go back to the foundational issue. Am I focused on the Lord in the way that I should? And if that's in place rightly and in a healthy sense, then the issue's not my desire. My desire is likely heading me in the right direction because He is directing me through that desire. May the Lord direct your desires today.